Theravada Collection on Monastic Law. A translation of the Pali Vinaya Pitaka into English. Translated by Bhikkhu Brahmali and read by Angus Cargill. The second training rule on expulsion. Origin story, first sub-story. At one time the Buddha was staying on the Vulture Peak at Rajagaya. At that time a number of monks who were friends had made grass huts on the slope of Mount Isagili and had entered the rainy season residence there. Among them was Venerable Daniya the potter. When the 3 months were over and they had completed the rainy season residence, the monks demolished their grass huts, put away the grass and sticks, and left to wander the country. But Venerable Daniya spent the winter and the summer right there. Then on one occasion, while Daniya was in the village to collect alms food, some women gathering grass and firewood demolished his grass hut and took away the grass and sticks. A second time Daniya collected grass and sticks and made a grass hut, and again the hut was demolished in the same way. The same thing happened a third time. Daniya thought, 3 times this has happened, but I'm well trained and experienced in my own craft of pottery. Why don't I knead mud myself and make a hut entirely of clay? And he did just that. He then collected grass, sticks, and cow dung, and he baked his hut. It was a pretty and attractive little hut, red in colour like a scarlet rain mite, and when struck, it sounded just like a bell. Soon afterwards, the Buddha was descending from the Vulture Peak with a number of monks when he saw that hut. He said to the monks, "What's this pretty and attractive thing that's red in colour like a scarlet rain mite?" The monks told the Buddha, who then rebuked Daniya. "It's not suitable for that, foolish man. It's not proper. It's not worthy of a monastic. It's not allowable. It's not to be done. How could he make a hut entirely of clay? Doesn't he have any consideration, compassion, and mercy for living beings? Go, monks, and demolish this hut, so that future generations don't follow his example. And monks, you shouldn't make a hut entirely of clay. If you do, you commit an offence of wrong conduct." Saying, "Yes, sir," they went to demolish it. And Daniya said to them, "Why are you demolishing my hut? The Buddha has asked us to." "Demolish it then, if the Lord of the Truth has said so." Daniya thought, 3 times while I was in the village to collect alms food, women gathering grass and firewood demolished my hut and took away the grass and sticks. And now my hut, made entirely of clay, has been demolished at the Buddha's request. Now the caretaker of the woodyard is a friend of mine. Why don't I ask him for timber and make a hut out of that?" Daniya then went to the caretaker of the woodyard and told him what had happened, adding, "Please give me some timber. I want to make a wooden hut." "There's no timber, sir, that I could give you. This timber is held by the king. It's meant for repairs of the town and put aside in case of an emergency. You can only have it if the king gives it away. Actually, it's been given by the king." The caretaker of the woodyard thought, "These Sakyan monastics have integrity. They are celibate and their conduct is good, and they are truthful, moral, and have a good character. Even the king has faith in them. These venerables wouldn't say something is given if it wasn't." And he said to Daniya, "You may take it, sir." Daniya then had that timber cut into pieces, took it away on carts, and made a wooden hut. Soon afterwards, the Brahmin Vasakara, the chief minister of Magadha, was inspecting the public works in Rajagaya when he went to the caretaker of the woodyard and said, What's going on? Where's the timber held by the king that's meant for repairs of the town and put aside in case of an emergency? The king has given it to Venerable Dāniya. Vasakara was upset and thought, how could the king give away this timber to Dāniya the potter? He then went to King Seniya Bimbisara of Magadha and said, Is it true, sir, that you have given away to Dāniya the potter the timber that was held for repairs of the town and put aside in case of an emergency? Who said that? The caretaker of the woodyard. Well then, Brahmin, summon the caretaker of the woodyard. And Vasakara had the caretaker of the woodyard bound and taken by force. Dāniya saw this and said to him, Why is this happening to you? Because of the timber, sir. Go then, and I'll come too. Please come before I'm done for. Dāniya then went to King Bimbisara's house and sat down on the prepared seat. The king approached Dāniya, bowed, sat down, and said, Is it true, Venerable, that I have given you the timber held for repairs of the town and put aside in case of an emergency? Yes, great king. We kings are very busy. We may give and not remember. Please remind me. Do you remember, great king, when you were first anointed, speaking these words, I give the grass, sticks, and water for the monastics and Brahmins to enjoy? I remember. There are monastics and Brahmins who have a sense of conscience, who are afraid of wrongdoing and fond of the training. They are afraid of wrongdoing even in regard to small matters. When I spoke, I was referring to them, and it concerned what's ownerless in the wilderness. Yet you imagine that you can take timber not given to you by means of this pretext? Even so, I cannot beat, imprison, or banish a monastic or Brahmin living in my own kingdom. Go. You're free because of your status, but don't do such a thing again. But people complained and criticized him. These Sakyan monastics are shameless and immoral liars. They claim to have integrity, to be celibate and of good conduct, to be truthful, moral, and good. But they don't have the good character of a monastic or a Brahmin. They've lost the plot. They even deceive the king, never mind other people. The monks heard the complaints of those people. The monks of few desires, who had a sense of conscience and who were contented, afraid of wrongdoing, and fond of the training, complained and criticized Venerable Dāniya. How could he take the king's timber without it being given to him? After rebuking Dāniya in many ways, they told the Buddha. The Buddha then had the Sangha of monks gathered and questioned Venerable Dāniya. Is it true, Dāniya, that you did this? It's true, sir. The Buddha rebuked him. Foolish man, it's not suitable, it's not proper, it's not worthy of a monastic, it's not allowable, it's not to be done. How could you do this? This will affect people's confidence and cause some to lose it. Just then, a former judge who had gone forth with the monks was sitting near the Buddha. The Buddha said to him, For stealing, how much does King Bimbisara beat, imprison, or banish a thief? For stealing a pada coin, sir, or the value of a pada. At that time in Rajgir, a pada coin was worth 5 Mahāsāka coins. After rebuking Venerable Dāniya in many ways, the Buddha spoke in dispraise of being difficult to support. And monks, this trading rule should be recited like this. Preliminary ruling. If a monk intending to steal takes what has not been given to him, the sort of stealing for which kings, having caught a thief, would beat, imprison, or banish him, saying, You're a bandit, you're a fool, you've gone astray, you're a thief. He too is expelled and excluded from the community. In this way, the Buddha laid down this training rule for the monks. Second sub-story. At one time, the monks from the group of 6 went to the dyers, stole their stock of cloth, brought it back to the monastery, and shared it out. The other monks said to them, "You have great merit, seeing that you've got so much robe cloth." "How is it that we have merit? Just now we went to the dyers and stole their cloth." "But hasn't the Buddha laid down a training rule? Why then do you steal the dyer's cloth?" It's true that the Buddha has laid down a training rule, but it concerns inhabited areas, not the wilderness. But that's just the same. It's not suitable, it's not proper, it's not worthy of a monastic, it's not allowable, it's not to be done. How could you steal the dyer's cloth? This will affect people's confidence and cause some to lose it. After rebuking those monks in many ways, they told the Buddha. The Buddha had the Sangha of monks gathered and questioned those monks. "Is it true, monks, that you did this?" "It's true, sir." The Buddha rebuked them. "It's not suitable, foolish men. It's not proper. It's not worthy of a monastic. It's not allowable. It's not to be done. How could you do this? This will affect people's confidence and cause some to lose it." Then, after rebuking the monks from the group of 6 in many ways, the Buddha spoke in dispraise of being difficult to support. But he spoke in praise of being energetic. Having given a teaching on what is right and proper, he addressed the monks. "And so, monks, this training rule should be recited like this." Final ruling. If a monk, intending to steal, takes from an inhabited area or from the wilderness what has not been given to him, the sort of stealing for which kings, having caught a thief, would beat, imprison, or banish him, saying, "You're a bandit, you're a fool, you've gone astray, you're a thief," he too is expelled and excluded from the community. The third training rule on expulsion. Origin story, first sub-story. At one time, the Buddha was staying in the hall with the peaked roof in the great wood near Vesali. At that time, the Buddha spoke to the monks in many ways about unattractiveness. He spoke in praise of unattractiveness, of developing the mind in unattractiveness, and of the attainment of unattractiveness. The Buddha then addressed the monks. "Monks, I wish to go into solitary retreat for half a month. No one should visit me except the one who brings me alms food." "Yes, venerable sir." Soon afterwards, the monks reflected that the Buddha had praised unattractiveness in many ways, and they devoted themselves to developing the mind in unattractiveness in its many different facets. As a consequence, they became troubled by their own bodies, ashamed of and disgusted with them. Just as a young woman or man, someone fond of adornments with freshly washed hair, would be ashamed, humiliated, and disgusted if the carcass of a snake, dog, or man was hung around her neck, just so those monks were troubled by their own bodies. They took their own lives, took the lives of one another, and they went to Nandika, the monastic look-alike, and said, "Please kill us. You will get our bowl and robes." And hired for a bowl and robes, Landika killed a number of monks. He then took his blood-stained knife to the river Vagumuda. While washing it, he became anxious and remorseful, thinking, "What the heck have I done? I've made so much demerit by killing good monks." Then a god from the realm of the Lord of Death, coming across the water, said to Megalandika, "Well done, superior man. You're truly fortunate. You've made much merit by helping across those who hadn't yet crossed." Megalandika thought, "So it seems that I'm fortunate, that I've made much merit." He then went from dwelling to dwelling, from yard to yard, and said, "Who hasn't crossed yet? Who can I help across?" The monks who still had worldly attachments became fearful and terrified, with goosebumps all over. Only those who were free from worldly attachments were unaffected. Then, on a single day, Megalandika killed 1 monk, 2 monks, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, even 60 monks. At the end of that half-month, when the Buddha came out of seclusion, he said to Venerable Ananda, "Ananda, why is the Sangha of monks so reduced?" Ananda told him what had happened, adding, "Please give another instruction, sir, for the Sangha of monks to become established in perfect insight." "Well then, Ananda, bring together in the assembly hall all the monks who live supported by Vesali." "Yes." When he had done so, he went to the Buddha and said, "Sir, the Sangha of monks is gathered. Please do as you think appropriate." The Buddha then went to the assembly hall, sat down on the prepared seat, and addressed the monks. "Monks, when stillness by mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated, it is peaceful and sublime, and a satisfying state of bliss, and it removes bad and unwholesome qualities on the spot whenever they arise. Just as a great unseasonal storm in the last month of summer removes the dust and dirt from the air, just so, when stillness by mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated, it is peaceful and sublime, and it removes bad and unwholesome qualities on the spot whenever they arise." And how is stillness by mindfulness of breathing developed and cultivated in this way? A monk sits down in the wilderness, at the foot of a tree, or in an empty hut. He crosses his legs, straightens his body, and sets up mindfulness in front of him. Simply mindful, he breathes in, mindful, he breathes out. When he breathes in long, he knows it, and when he breathes out long, he knows that. When he breathes in short, he knows it, and when he breathes out short, he knows that. When breathing in, he trains in fully experiencing the breath. When breathing out, he trains in fully experiencing the breath. When breathing in, he trains in calming the activity of the body. When breathing out, he trains in calming the activity of the body. When breathing in, he trains in experiencing joy. When breathing out, he trains in experiencing joy. When breathing in, he trains in experiencing bliss. When breathing out, he trains in experiencing bliss. When breathing in, he trains in experiencing the activity of the mind. When breathing out, he trains in experiencing the activity of the mind. When breathing in, he trains in calming the activity of the mind. When breathing out, he trains in calming the activity of the mind. When breathing in, he trains in experiencing the mind. When breathing out, he trains in experiencing the mind. When breathing in, he trains in gladdening the mind. When breathing out, he trains in gladdening the mind. When breathing in, he trains in stilling the mind. When breathing out, he trains in stilling the mind. When breathing in, he trains in freeing the mind. When breathing out, he trains in freeing the mind. When breathing in, he trains in contemplating impermanence. When breathing out, he trains in contemplating impermanence. When breathing in, he trains in contemplating fading away. When breathing out, he trains in contemplating fading away. When breathing in, he trains in contemplating ending. When breathing out, he trains in contemplating ending. When breathing in, he trains in contemplating relinquishment. When breathing out, he trains in contemplating relinquishment. Monks, when stillness by mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated like this, it is peaceful and sublime, and a satisfying state of bliss, and it removes bad and unwholesome qualities on the spot whenever they arise. The Buddha then had the Sangha gathered and questioned the monks. Is it true, monks, that there are monks who have taken their own lives, who have killed one another, and who have said to Megalandika, "Please kill us, you will get our bowl and robes"? It's true, sir. The Buddha rebuked them. Monks, it's not suitable for these monks. It's not proper. It's not worthy of a monastic. It's not allowable. It should not be done. How could those monks do this? This will affect people's confidence. And monks, this training rule should be recited like this. Preliminary ruling. If a monk intentionally kills a human being or seeks an instrument of death for them, he too is expelled and excluded from the community. In this way, the Buddha laid down this training rule for the monks. Second sub-story. At one time, a certain lay follower was sick. He had a beautiful and pleasant wife, who the monks from the group of 6 had fallen in love with. They said to each other, "If this lay follower recovers, we won't get her. Come, let's praise death to him." They then went to that lay follower and said, "You've done what's good and wholesome. You've made a shelter against fear. You haven't done anything bad. You haven't been greedy or immoral. So why carry on with this miserable and difficult life? Death is better for you. When you've passed away, you'll be reborn in a happy place, in heaven. There you'll be able to enjoy the pleasures of heaven." That lay follower thought, "The venerables have spoken the truth, for I've done what's good and avoided what's bad, and after death I'll be reborn in a happy place." From then on he ate various kinds of detrimental food and drank detrimental drinks, and as a consequence he became very ill and died. But his wife complained and criticized those monks. "These Sakyan monastics are shameless and immoral liars. They claim to have integrity, to be celibate and of good conduct, to be truthful, moral and good, but they don't have the good character of a monastic or Brahmin. They've lost the plot. They praise death to my husband, and as a result, my husband is dead." And other people complained and criticized them in the same way. The monks heard the criticism of those people. Those monks who had few desires and a sense of conscience, who were contented, afraid of wrongdoing and fond of the training, complained and criticized those monks. How could they praise death to that lay follower? After rebuking those monks in many ways, they told the Buddha, "Is it true, monks, that you did this?" "It's true, sir." The Buddha rebuked them. "Foolish men, it's not suitable, it's not proper, It's not worthy of a monastic. It's not allowable. It should not be done. How could you do this? This will affect people's confidence. And so, monks, this training rule should be recited like this. Final ruling. If a monk intentionally kills a human being or seeks an instrument of death for him, or praises death, or incites someone to die, saying, "My friend, what's the point of this miserable and difficult life? Death is better for you than life." Thinking and intending thus, if he praises death in many ways or incites someone to die, he too is expelled and excluded from the community.